Welcome back to the Kpm Performance Method video newsletter.
It's got to be like episode 50.
I think we're at 50, so right
I got to count them.
We've been very consistent. Very, very important that you guys listen and watch these. We're starting to quiz you guys and everything now, so it does help. It's part of the experience. Actually, one of the parents said this to me. He was like, I don't think if they're not watching the newsletter, they're not getting the entire Kpm Performance Method experience.
I agree.
And that's it. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for more of the experience, not just the lesson. You have all these other aspects, and this is a big one, so we can explain to you what we're trying to accomplish. It just makes you better. It literally makes your test scores better. We're going to give you an edge in a whole lot of ways. And honestly, what we're doing right now is saving on a lot of time, because everyone's going to have these exact same questions, and we're going to answer them either 1,000 times or we answer them one time and do it very clearly. So especially if you listen to anything, you want to listen to the section where Coach talks about what's going on inside the four walls, because we go from the fastest minute in sport performance. Literally, we want 60 minutes to spend with you creating neuromuscular adaptations, some hypertrophy, and getting after it, right? And over here, we're going to explain why we're doing it and then how you can get an edge around that. Please listen to this. Okay, then we have our announcements. So, big announcement, or a big thank you. Our commercial shoot was awesome. We did it at Ocean City on the boardwalk.
On the beach a little bit, on the track.
On the track. It was amazing. Sophia Curtis, thank you. Coming from Virginia Tech to go do that. Yeah. It was awesome. Posted a picture of her already, and it got shared and liked by Antibes Muscle Runners and everything like that too. These are the shoes right here. Yeah. Please use our discount code KLEMIC to get the 10% discount. You can't get them anywhere else, so you got to go on the Antibes. .com website, and you can find them. They are awesome. Every single kid freaked out.
And we're going out to a big event in Austin, Texas. It's called the Running Event. That's literally what it's called, and it is the retailers of everything running and performance nationwide come to this event. There's vendors from even other countries that come to this event. It's so big. We're getting flown down there by Antibes to talk about the shoe and just basically build the notoriety of it, because this is an extremely good product. It's hard to see here, but when I lift this up, how you would walk in your shoe, you can see that there is a heel lift. So now when you're running, it forces you to stay on the forefoot, which is how you should run, so you can access all of your lower leg. And when you run with these on, you'll feel not only your lower leg, but you'll feel your upper leg too. Like you'll feel your hamstring, you'll feel your glute turn on a little bit more. You'll start to feel what it's actually like to use the muscles you're supposed to use in sequence, in order to run. And then if you walk around in these all day, which I walk around in these, sometimes, for a week straight, this is all I wear. And when I'm walking, what this does is, because your heel is at a deficit, it actually starts to pull everything and stretch everything out in your lower leg, and I think that it's creating a bounce of your lower leg for me. So it's just an amazing product. You'll see when the commercial comes out, all the kids basically say the same thing. I felt extremely springy. I felt extremely bouncy. This is the closest thing to a track spike I have ever worn, and it gives kids the ability who don't run track. So if you're a football player, baseball player, basketball player, it gives you the ability to put these on and hit any surface and go and run, because you can't always get to a track. I know I always can't get to a track, so I can put these on and literally go run on concrete, won't feel any shin splints, won't feel any major problems, and get a track-like experience just, in the front of my house.
You get the same bounce effect as the track spikes, and even better, it's like wearing your triple jump or long jump track spikes, which was now what they all look like now. If you look at the Max Vaporflies, they have the high front like taper, where it's bigger in the front, lower in the back.
The track spikes are dialed in, but nobody has came out with a shoe like this. Like the track spikes are dialed in, but these are different, and the study's proven. The University of Calgary did a study in their biomechanics lab, Antibes versus traditional running shoes versus track spikes, and the difference between these and running shoes were very big, and the difference between these and track spikes were very small. So it's the closest thing you're going to get to a track spike. And if you talk to anybody in the performance or speed world, they'll tell you that in order to get the greatest adaptation out of speed, you need to spike up, because that's going to give you the fastest ground contact time, the highest max velocity, and the fastest overall times. So, most people encourage their athletes to run in spikes. Obviously, we're not doing that. We're running on turf, but this right here is going to be the product that we kind of build the next facility around. Like the turf and the surface that we use is going to be conducive to these, so you're not slipping with the turf beads. You're able to grip into the ground and run, because ultimately every kid should be training in these. So
and I imagine the next step is to put cleats on the bottom of these too.
Oh yeah, just
we actually handed them. I mean, we handed them to a guy who was on the track. Just said the guy was running 200s, and I say, come over here and try these out. Run a 200, and he literally just, the first words out of his mouth goes, "You're gonna move these things."
Yeah,
these things are gonna move.
Yeah.
And I was like, meaning you're gonna sell a lot. If you don't understand that. And then watching every kid. Now you saw them just run in the spike, run in the Antipes, versus just running their trainers, which they brought in. Every single one of them look completely different.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly what we try to have them do, is not overreach, overstride, create a braking force, and then rerun. They're just bouncing right off the baller for everyone. And a big one was Jamar Boyer. He looked like he already was good at it anyway, and now he was like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was like he had such crazy frontside mechanics.
Yeah.
It makes you lift, bounce. It's amazing. So I won't go into too much more. That's why we were in love with the product before we were
we've actually been trying to get a hold of Antipes to try to get something going. We're like, yo, we love your product. What can we do and everything? And then, the Navy talk, he saw that and he was like, wow.
Yeah, it's a DC base. So when he saw that, he was like, he said he had been trying to get in touch with us too, went to the wrong Instagram account.
Oh, okay.
And he saw, was like, your Instagram was like nothing. Like, didn't even know you had a facility or anything. I was like, oh man, I should have deleted that account.
Yeah, we gotta still delete that at some point.
But really, we're gonna go into so this Thursday, kind of a cool honor. I'm getting to speak at Camden County College. Which is, now the third college I've gotten to talk at, which is really cool. It's taken this long for you to get people to listen. Now we're speaking at colleges. So Camden County College, I'm going to go speak to their athletic department on Thursday night. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. And next we're going to do is our Who Dat Athlete of the Week.
Who that?
That was J. Cole on one of my favorite tunes. But it's a perfect lead-in for our Athlete of the Week, who I've known since he was very young. This is a special one for me, because the reason why I have my dog is because his mom came into a workout one time when he was like a baby. Like Maddie was like a little baby, and came in with their dog. And I go, now I can tell you, this is 2015, so I've had it since 9 years ago, because my dog's 9.
Yeah.
And I bought one right after. I was like, where'd you get that? Puppy barn. Boom. Went out there and got one the very next day. So we have like identical dogs. And so that was 9 years I've had Matt Mewitz, who's our Athlete of the Week. Let's let you go into talking about it, and I'll go into what I saw at his game.
Well, yeah, Matt is, he comes in here. He's always smiling. He always has a great attitude. He's always working hard. When him and the mainland kids come in here, it's especially at 7:30 class, like when the prep kids are mixed in too, it's just compete, trash talk. I love having him in. He's just, again, every athlete of the week is like a great culture kid. Like they just come in, they work hard, they're great to be around. Everybody loves that they're there, and they add a lot to every single workout session. And he killed it last week against Ocean City.
He got the homecoming MVP, and deservedly so. If you watch the tape of that game, and I watched that on TV because my kids were sick, I was like, that was the 2 games I really needed to be at. It was Ocean City, mainland prep, and all my kids were both sick, and Erica wasn't feeling good, so I had to stay home. But I watched it, and Matt was a nightmare all over the field. They just kept calling his name over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Critical stop after critical stop. And when he comes in here and trains, which he's been doing since he was very young, he is way undersized. We actually put him with the skill guys.
Yeah.
But he's a 3-point stance lineman, right?
Yeah.
And he's battling with these guys, but he applies his forces, and he's not intimidated by anything or anyone. With that big smile, you would think that he kind of would be. He's not. He takes everything head on. He will work out with the fast guys. He'll work out with the big guys.
Yeah, he's so deceiving. Like you look at him and like you're like, all right, he's an athlete, but then you watch him run. It's like, whoa,
twitchy.
He'll run in here, and if you don't know him, you'll be like, whoa, I didn't expect him to move like that.
Culture kid. I can say, and I think I've said I love every one of our athletes of the week. I could say that honestly. I've known him for that long.
Yeah.
Since he was not. So if he's 17 years old, he was literally 8 years old when I first. Yeah, and so like that's kind of how long I've known some of these guys, like a Hunter who I've known since he was born and everything, and Kylie. But yeah, Matt's a culture guy. He's come up through. He's always got adversity because he's undersized.
Yeah.
But always slams it. I just love that. And no matter what he does, he's always going to be successful with that same type of mentality. So he's overcome so much adversity just from being undersized. I know. I was the same way.
Yeah.
So anyway, Matt, you are our Who Dat Athletes of the Week athlete of the week. Congratulations. Next, we're going to go over what goes on inside the four walls of this facility this week. And Coach programmed this, so I'm going to let him take it away. But again, our focuses every week are acceleration, initial force generation, center mass, and max velocity. So the philosophy is that these numbers will increase or decrease based on what we're putting them through that week. But what was this week? What was that all about?
Yeah, this week, again, we're basing our days in order of importance. Not to say that max velocity is not important or center of mass isn't important being the last 2 days in the cycle. It's just how you train, right? Like when you come into acceleration, we do the most prioritized thing or the thing that's going to create the most adaptation first, which is actually running in acceleration and doing the different application training exercises. And then you go to isolation and you take the muscle, even though it's already damaged and used from acceleration, and you put a little bit more work into it because the priority is being able to run faster. So you have to do that first. When you're the most energized, when you feel the best, when you're not like 30 minutes into a workout. And that's the same thing with our training cycle. Acceleration is the most used attribute in sports. So we do that first, and then we prioritize initial force generation, which is taking yourself from a ball of potential energy to kinetic energy. So when you're at a standstill, you need to be able to go from a standstill to extremely fast or your top speed as fast as possible. And it becomes easier to do that if you have an explosive start, right? If you can drop your weight and push and explode and get closer to your max velocity off of that first step than somebody who can't jump or can't produce force. So that's day number 2. And today I'm going to focus on day number 3, which is center of mass management. And this is something that you see center of mass management being coached traditionally through agility ladders, cone drills, predetermined on-field exercises, curved runs, all this different stuff, which it's not to say that that's bad, but if you continue to do more skill-based work or predetermined work that you can just kind of get better at over time because you just rehearse the same type of drills and your brain just gets better at it, you're not actually going to change your physical attributes, which our center of mass management day is all about changing your physical attributes. Michael Jordan and Allen Iverson and Ryan Williams from Alabama and all these guys that are making people miss left and right and crossing people over and stepping back and stopping really fast, all have the ability to, number one, get down in a low position, so drop their center of mass into a low position, be strong in that low position, and then be able to push and get out of that low position. And we use the ramps here, and the ramps have been, a complete game changer for center of mass management while doing that. But the ramps allow the kids to be able to drop into position, drop low, drop their center of mass, and then use their base of support or their foot and get comfortable with it being out of frame farther and farther and farther and farther. A great quote that I heard, I'm pretty sure PJF said it first, but he was like, Michael Jordan didn't stretch his way into a good crossover. Allen Iverson didn't stretch his way into a split and then go, all right, now I'm going to cross over. These athletes played their way there. They dropped lower and they sank lower, and they developed the physical attributes in their hips, right? So their abductors, their adductors. They developed the muscle to be able to take on a large amount of force, load a large amount of force, and then get out very quickly. And if you look over here in acceleration, or in our isolation area, the cords are designed to pull you into the wall at a faster rate. So when we're doing side-to-side movements, when you're coming back towards the wall, the cords that are connected to your waist overspeed you into the wall. So that forces your leg, your abductors, adductors, and you can even speak on this more, but it forces you to load faster. And if you can load more and you can load faster, you can produce more and you can produce it faster. And that's how things happen over time, because your body's never going to allow you to produce more force than you can take on and handle. It's always the opposite. So you're always going to be able to absorb more force every single time. That's why people can take a 300-pound bench press and lower, but then they can't push it. Or, there's a ton of different examples. Like a squat, I can sit there with 800 pounds on my back on a squat and, slowly be able to, maybe not 800 pounds, but you get the point. I can put a lot of weight on my back in a squat and sink, but I can't push it. So teaching your body to load fast and explode fast on center mass management day is important.
Yeah, and one of the things that we try to teach is how to absorb shock. If your legs become shock absorbers, you become less ligament dominant and go right to the muscle where that actually absorbs shock.
Yeah.
Right? It's taking things that are like high impact thing that would look very high impact, jumping off of something. Josh does this sometimes. He'll jump off stuff that's really high, and your knees would break apart right upon landing off of 10 feet high.
Yeah.
But if you're good at absorbing the shock and really quickly, you start to absorb it more quickly, you're able to re-express it faster and get in and out of breaks. That's kind of what you're wanting. But you have to become an absorber of shock before you can be a re-expressor of that same shock. So the other thing is, we're talking about training adaptations, right? You're always thinking your body or your brain thinks survival, right? So go right back to the beginning of time, and there's apples in a tree. And you have to jump up to get an apple. And you got it. You ate, right? And then the next one is higher than that. And you're like, shoot, I'm not going to eat until I get up and get that one. So you start to create different ways to jump. You start to train. You whatever you can do to get up there. You're trying to, maybe pile up some dirt, whatever you can figure out to get up a little bit higher. Well, as God set your body up, it's to always think forward because it needs to survive. So it needs to advance. So the more that things that we put it through to get to the next level, and that's what your body's going to do. It's going to predict forward. So as we start to become a shock absorber, or as we set a higher apple, your body starts to predict forward. I guess this is what you want me to do. Is this what you want me to do?
Yeah.
I got to survive. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. Like for some reason, this is means of survival. So we're always tricking ourselves into doing these things. And that's all we do as coaches is we're trying to trick your body into thinking it needs to survive because it needs this.
Yeah.
But you do it the wrong way and it's going to react the wrong way.
Well, yeah, like that's like the most important part I think of our training is like the predicting forward thing, especially for kids, is the way your body adapts. So if you give your body reps that are sub-max, then your body is going to predict sub-max. Like it's truly as simple as that. Like training is not hard. Like if you want to become a bouncy elite athlete at your school, like you're like, all right, I want to become a great 100-meter runner. Well, you got to run 100 meters fast, so you have to train 100 meters fast.
I think we both quoted the same thing this week. We both quoted Charlie Francis, and I'll find it. Keep talking as I find this here.
Yeah, but the quote is basically based off of Charlie Francis is a very famous.
Here it is. I got it. So Charlie Francis once said, if you have a team full of basketball players that can't touch the rim, it doesn't matter how many times they can't touch it.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you think about it, I read in the description, it says there's a time and place for higher volume, but no amount of low-intense volume will drive your ability to produce high outputs. You need to raise your ceiling.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So every time I see someone just going through the motions, I'm like, good, you can do the wrong thing a million times.
Yeah.
Great. You didn't get any faster. You didn't get any jump any higher.
Nope.
And then we can work with that. With that. Slow down the reps. Start with 1.
Yeah.
Then get to 2.
Yeah.
Then get to 3. Then get to 10 for 10. You know what I mean? That's why we measure so much, and that's why we are so adamant about measurements, because everybody else, if you're in this industry and you're not measuring, you're just full of what.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, as much as like I'd like to say that every kid loves coming in here, there's days that even the kids who love this place the most come in and are like a little tired from the day or tired from the week or just had something happen or whatever, and it's not their best day. So you have to be able to measure, and you have to be able to say, all right, we're timing and testing almost every single day, because if you don't, again, you don't even know if you're getting better, and you don't even know if you're giving full effort. Like some days, every athlete that I think that listens can tell you, like, there's days you don't feel good and you produce your best scores, and there's days that you feel really good and you don't produce good scores. So it's important every single day that we do that, and we give all of our athletes the opportunity to see where they're at almost day to day. Like this week, it's already Tuesday, so Monday and Tuesday, our acceleration, we tested their 10-yard split with a 5-yard start, and we tested their RSI for every single class, so they know exactly where they're at, exactly what their time is to beat next week.
And every time. Well, another thing is what we like to say is you have red, yellow, and green days. We like a mixture. You're not going to come in here and do your best. You're going to get a green. I feel great today. I'm going to do. Yes, you're going to do good on those days. You're going to have red days where it just stinks. Your knee's hurting from something. You're tired, whatever. And then you get your yellow days, which are like kind of normal. I'm like in between. Some kind of sore, but whatever. You're going to have a mixture of all three. You're never going to be all green. If so, we didn't train you hard enough. If you're all red, we trained you too hard. So we want a nice mixture of those. And each one of those days, you're going to also have games where you're going to feel a red day. You're going to have a yellow. Those are game days too.
Yeah.
We want to still be able to perform at our maximum output on given what you got. If you got red, you want to be the brightest red. If you want to be if you got green, be the greatest green. If you're yellow, be the brightest yellow.
Yeah. And back to that quote, we've been talking about that for months, but I think it's important to harp on nowadays because it's a truth where kids are doing too many things and they're stretching themselves so thin that they don't get good at any one particular skill, and they don't ever end up building any real physical attributes because kids are playing fall football, then playing winter football, then playing 7-on-7, then in the summertime they train for a little bit, and then they go right into camp again for their fall season. And then during all of that, they're sending their kids to lift, and they're sending their kids to run, and they're sending their kids to do everything, and they're going to quarterback training sessions and wide receiver training sessions. And it's like, dude,
and meanwhile, all they say is, go run a 4.4 and I'll offer you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just did all this. We already saw you play football. All we needed was 4 games.
Yeah.
You played 100 games. All we needed was 4.
Yeah.
Like Jason Nitt sent me his first 4 games. Great. That's all he's going to need, and he's going to start getting his. He's going to work. He's going to play a great season.
Yeah.
But he's going to come here and train his butt off for the rest of the year, so his test scores are great.
Well, yeah.
Love that kid.
That's the greatest way to put it. Like when you play football, you play at the high school level. You play you're lucky if you play 9-10 games a season. If you're going in the state playoffs, you play a little bit more, maybe a little less. It just depends on who, where you're at. But you only have those many games to be recruited off of. And throughout those games, you really just need, in one season, you need 2 to 3 minutes of explosive film, which is realistically, 15 good plays your whole entire season. How do you have 15 good plays? Well, you need to be really fast, really explosive, and you need to be able to show that you can play and move at a division, because that's all it is. Like you're getting recruited for your movement, and if you can't move fast enough to play at Division I level, Deion Sanders being your corners coach isn't going to matter. He could be your corners coach. You could have Rod Woodson as your corner coach. You could have Patrick Surtain from the Broncos as your corners coach. It doesn't matter if you're a corner that's too slow to run at the Division I level. And I just hope that we say it almost every podcast. I harp on it, but I hope that every parent understands that. Like you said, when you go to Rutgers or you go to Penn State, they're offering the guy who's running 4.4. They're not offering the guy running 4.6. There's no 5 stars that are slow.
It's just too hard to decipher the competition you just played against. Who was that? Was that a 3-star? Was that a 5-star? Was that and then looking, all the reps are just like, oh my gosh, give me the standard. Let's make it standard. Just like in school, they're like, your GPA. Okay, you got a great GPA. Your classes were very easier at a school that doesn't have a high standard of learning, or you're a school that has a very high standard of learning. It's standardize the test scores. Let's see how you do. It's so much easier.
Yeah.
So then everybody that runs a 4.4 or faster, you're going to get your offers.
Yeah.
Everybody that runs, and if you don't try, that's the worst. If you don't even train for it, you're going to run worse because you don't even know how to do a start. You don't even know how to accelerate, and there's a lot of meat on that bone.
There's
at 10 yards.
Very few kids in this whole entire country that are running 4.4. There's very few kids that are doing it. There's very few. There's maybe 1%, 2%, 3% of all high school kids can just get out on the field and run something like that. But that's why those kids are getting scholarships. Whether they train for it or not, those are the kids getting offers. Like, you're not going to – I have so many kids that we've trained that – their feedback from college coaches, especially from big college coaches, because when you're getting recruited by a Penn State or a Rutgers, unless you're the top 1% of your class, every kid is on the fence for them. So they need to see every kid in person who's on the fence in the middle, and they need to have every one of those kids come to camp. And there's a large amount of kids that go to camp that are evaluated at that camp and either get their scholarship or don't get their scholarship, because that is the only way to identify if he's truly better than him. So when you go to those schools, they're going to want all skill position players to run. They're going to want, even the defensive line. If you're a defensive lineman and you go in there and you run a 4.9 and you have really good film, they'll be like, this dude's a freak athlete, especially if you're jumping like 8-9 feet on the broad jump, or you're testing in at 30 inches if they do the vertical. If you do that stuff, it's like a no-brainer offer for them. That means that you have all the necessary general attributes to play at a school like that. And now the coach who gets paid $200,000 a year to be your defensive line coach, he can coach you on how to play defensive line. None of these college coaches expect you to be a good player. Like, to be honest with you, like, none of them go, oh, well, I expect him to come in and be ready to play college. None of them expect that. They're like, you're going to get here, and I got to coach him
Damari's getting
up.
his offers right now because he's 6'3", 275, but guess what? There's 500, 6'3", 275 guys. There's 10 that can jump 30-plus on their vertical leap, and he's one of them.
Yeah, there's 10 that are jumping up in the air, catching interceptions. That's it. The reason that he's doing what he's doing is not because of it. He's not that much bigger than anybody else, like 6'3", 250, 260. There's probably, in New Jersey, there's 100 kids that look like that at the defensive line position, but there's only one of him that are moving like that. Yeah. And that's, I could talk 2 hours about this, but he's a great example.
We're probably preaching to the choir for this thing right here, but if if
you're this far in the podcast, you probably are. Yeah.
So we are going to ask a couple questions this week to any of our participants that are in here right now. But I think they're going to be more or less about what we covered. Here's the number one. I want you to be able to locate your 3 planes of your body. Okay, we want to go. Your sagittal plane cuts your right and left. Transverse, top and bottom. Front and back is coronal. That's all you need to know. If you don't answer those questions, and now you're at the back end of this thing, we're about 20 minutes into it. If you don't answer those 3 questions, I'll ask them individually. I think we're going to have to just do a lot. We'll do a whole series of burpee broad jumps.
This is like the hard part about being like a performance coach. It's like it's kind of like a team here, but it's not like
it's a family.
Yeah, but it's
there's no outcome. There's no team game at the end. You know what I mean?
So it's like, I always think about that. Like, how do I
Yeah, but listen, the more you know about yourself, it's honestly easier for us to speak in technical terms and stuff, and where we're using anatomy, physiology, kinesiology terms. It's easier. We actually have to make it kind of palatable, and that's what we're trying to do a lot better, so you guys don't yawn. And I kind of feel right now how like probably my teachers did in like high school, where it was like they were so passionate about that subject, and I'm just like, yeah, right. I'm not learning this algebra too. And it's actually for you. It's actually it's not for me to sound smart. I don't really care. I want to chuck it up with you guys. But like, this is important stuff. These planes of your body you need to know, because we need to know where reference points are.
Yeah, I was gonna say you shouldn't know every song to the. You shouldn't know every lyric to a rap song and not know these things about yourself that are could potentially change the outcome of your life financially. And
really, we use it so much. That's why the planes are so. We use it a lot. Mm-hmm. We can try to say other words, but that's an easy one.
It's the easiest way to go.
There's a bunch. That's your quiz question. But the when you kids that do pay attention and you obsess over it, you got like a Frankie Himmelreich who's all over. He'll ask you a million questions. He'll research on his own. That kid's getting better, and that kid's going to be a successful kid in life. You'll just find he's going to be it. You'll see Frankie in life. You're going to be an amazing, business person or whatever it is that you do, because the way you attack this stuff and try to beat yourself. Yeah. So it's kind of what we do. It's kind of the neat part of the whole entire program is that you find a way to objectively measure yourself and then get better and then get better and then get better every week. And sometimes it's not happening. You got to fight for a way to do it. Like, you got to really think about it and open up those brain pathways.
That's like the other thing too. Like if this is just another completely different rant, but like, if it's not happening for you, like there's occasionally kids that come in here and go, why isn't my vertical leap going up? Well, it's like, really, really think about what you're doing. It's like, this is a total of 3 hours of your week. What were you doing for every other hour? Did you get 8 hours of sleep every night? Are you eating well? Okay, what else are you doing? Okay, are you jogging? Are you sprinting? How much? Like, what's your volume look like? Are you playing another sport right now? Are you getting ready for another sport? Are you hitting weights? Are you doing everything that you're supposed to do in order to get those results? And 10 out of 10 times, the answer is no. Like, if you're nobody plateaus that is doing everything right. Like, at the age of a high school kid, nobody plateaus. Are you gaining weight? Are you what's everything looking like? Most of the time it's sleep. Most of the time kids don't sleep well at all. And then they don't hydrate, and then they don't eat. Or like, yo, what'd you eat today? Oh, I had the school pizza, I had some goldfish, and then after I had 2 cookies from Wawa. It's
you're going to perform like you put bad gas in your car.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's like it's simple when you really look at it. So,
well, we did a heck of a lot today. We talked a little bit long, but we're passionate about it again, of course, because we want you guys to have better scores. If you guys have better scores, we get to feed the kids. And by the way, I guess my last announcement will be, I said it on the radio, but we're pregnant, we hit the 12-week mark, strong, heartbeat and everything like that. So
it's amazing.
We're blessed to have number 3 on the way. And I don't know, maybe we'll have a boy this time because there's no Klemic boys in the whole family. A lot of pressure on me to do that, but I would like a healthy baby no matter what. I love my girls. And but anyway, so we're going to wrap it up right there, and that'll – actually, we'll get a couple shout-outs again. I got to hook up a couple shout-outs real quick.
Yeah.
JP, dude, great catch against Ocean City playing JP Forrester. I can't just call people by their first names they're in the room with us. JP Forrester, you had one of the greatest catches I've ever seen a high school player make against Mainland, my high school. You did it to me. It's fine. Mainland still won. If I wanted anybody to win, it'd be Walker, Luke, and JP, though, right? I love those guys, and I can't believe that you played that tough. I actually saw that game thinking Mainland's probably going to work them a little bit. Yeah, they played them very tough at Mainland. It's hard to play at Mainland too. Yeah, the field's terrible. Yeah, the field's very soft, so it's hard to play at Mainland for that reason alone. But I'm proud of you, that kid, man.
JP is excessive hitting. That dude is just lighting people up at safety, and then he goes in an offense and he's making exceptional catches, and he's an amazing kicker too. He can kick the ball 50 yards. Yeah. So,
Walker, you've been balling. I hope they let you throw a little bit more because you got all kind of power in your arm. I'm trying to think. Jake Blum, absolutely just
dominant.
Dominant.
Yeah, he's killing
both sides of the ball, just crushing over there.
Pfeiffer's at the Hunt School. They're playing a national schedule. I think they have the biggest game of their season this week. They play St. Francis Academy out of Baltimore, who for a while was the number 1 team in the country. They've kind of fallen off a little bit. They're still top. I think they're number 13 or something like that. So that the Hunt School's got them, and Jake's killing it there too. So
Jackson Carpenter saw one run against Buna, I think it was, where one of the nastiest runs I've ever seen. Broke 7 tackles and then just outran everybody. It was very Bo Jackson-like, you know what I mean? Jackson Donovan, we just did a sports science, or we call it, engineering athlete on Jackson Donovan, just kids lighting it up, hitting high, heavy miles per hour on the field, carrying the ball. It almost looks like he got faster when he's carrying the ball.
Yeah, which I feel like a lot of people do. Once everything kicks in, you got people chasing you, you're turning on the jets.
He looked great. So, if we forgot about you, yell at us later or whatever.
Yeah, Xavier.
A lot of us yelled at us about the Latsier Brooks video we did.
But we got hate from people who I didn't think I was gonna get hate from, man. No, we're doing sports science segments every single week. It just so happened that play was a Sports Center play, local. You know what I mean? Put some shine on the local kids before we do anybody else.
Yeah, but people missed the best part of that whole video. That's why we did that video, because they saw the catch. Yeah. They didn't see the lift off the ground, which was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's pro
I thought it was in
level.
Fast forward for a second, how quick he cut off the ground.
It's pro, that legitimately is professional level athleticism. That is pro athlete athleticism. So I think this week we're doing Ryan Williams from Alabama. We'll break down how he's just lighting college football up.
We have our own Ryan Williams out at IMG right now. Yeah. We wish them the best because I think they're getting hit with this storm pretty soon. Ryan, we miss you. But our Ryan Williams that we're doing is the Alabama freshman who's 17 years old and lighting the world on fire. So let's wrap it up right there, and we'll see you next time.
Boom.